What up YouTube, Spiker right here with another video, and this time it's a rant. This rant is about My Twisted World. If you don't know what it is an autobiography written by Elliott Rodger. If you don't know who Elliott Rodger is, he is the guy behind the Isla Vista killings. But I'm going to focus on what I think of Elliott from what I've gathered from his book. I read the whole book. Well, not read it, but listened to an audiobook of it on YouTube that went through the entire thing. It was 9 hours long. And let me tell you, it was a wild roller coaster of mostly brooding. I'm going to get this out of the way. At the beginning of the story, I actually kind of liked him, Elliott, and could even relate to a few things in his life. But by the end of the story, I fucking hated him and wanted to scream at him. As I talk about the story, you'll start to see why. I mean, I already kind of knew that it was going to be like that, but the effect didn't change at all. Okay, so the story goes through his entire life up from when he was born, which I don't know how the fuck he remembers that, but maybe he was told by his parents how it was. But when he was a kid, he actually had a relatively good life. I will say he does have a pretty extensive vocabulary and does describe the events in his life very, very well. Sometimes probably too well. I mean, I don't mind him going through his sexual experiences and, you know, his first masturbation session and, how it was like when he was ready to come, or him seeing a naked girl for the first time. But he does go into too much detail about other things. Like, do I really need to know how his brother and sister literally entered into this world? But I could ignore that, at least while I was reading it or listening to it. Because he does go into all the vacations he took around the world, all the restaurants he ate at, and all the movies he likes and video games he played, and the fact that his favorite band is Green Day. I'm not a huge Green Day fan, but hey. And I'm not sure how he would like them, but I guess there are some things that he could like about them. But like, he stated that he was and always will be a Star Wars fan, and that's fine by me. While I'm no longer a Star Wars fan, he does like Indiana Jones and the James Bond movies. Hey, at least we have some things in common. And I can definitely see him liking the James Bond movies. He owned an N64 and played Banjo-Kazooie and Banjo-Tooie a lot as a kid. But when the Xbox and PlayStation 2 came out, he wanted them and eventually did get them. I also think he played the Halo games a lot. And his favorite TV shows were Avatar: The Last Airbender and Game of Thrones. And he does remember all the birthdays, all of his birthdays too. In fact, every single chapter is an age he was. Although towards the end he combined a few years. That is pretty fucking amazing that he remembers all that. I only remember a few of my birthdays. Most of them are more recent. I do have good memory, but his memory is probably better. I don't know how I feel about that, though. But he also goes into all the play dates he had with his friends, including his childhood friend James Ellis. When he goes to the time when his parents got divorced, he does describe very well the confusion he felt about his parents separating. Divorce is something that children would not understand. At school, he was not the most sociable kid in class. Yes. Even though he had a fair amount of friends. But he really wanted to be like the cool kids. When he saw that all the cool kids were into skateboarding, he wanted to try and be a skateboarder. But when he tried it out, he was obviously not good at it in the beginning. But even as he improved his skills, he was still not amazing at skateboarding. He also didn't seem to be fully invested in the sport. Well, he was into it for a little bit, but he eventually stopped. This hit me hard because I've been in similar situations. This is exactly what happened to me when I tried to get into soccer. In fact, I tried to get into things that were semi-popular, like playing the clarinet, and had the same feeling. But there's a difference between Elliott Rodger and myself. And that is, Elliott kept trying to fit in with the cool kids all his life, and ended up being very miserable, and never really saw the value in not caring about what people think of him, and felt shame in being an outcast. However, I ultimately stopped trying to fit in with the cool kids, and realized that what people liked was not really all that enjoyable for me, and did not give a fuck about being an outcast. People often don't have very good standards of other people or activities. Also, being cool is such a subjective state of existence that it could imply many things. This is actually going to be a continual problem throughout the story, and that is pretty much his life. When he started middle school, he did enjoy 6th grade. Even though he had not gone through puberty yet, he did like it when girls started talking to him. He really liked it when a few of them hugged him. It felt really good for him. He even went to a school dance, and a girl taught him how to slow dance, and he regarded it as the only time that he would get good treatment from women. I'm bringing this up because he very well could have gotten that feeling from women many times again in his life. Hell, maybe even better. He could have gotten it if he tried a lot harder than he ended up doing. Or if he actually had the guts to tell people about it. But we'll get to that eventually. By 7th grade, Elliott's life started to take a turn for the worst. Nobody really paid attention to him, and this was around the time he started playing World of Warcraft. which he was pretty much obsessed with. Like, he played it all the time when he didn't have school or vacations. He tried to play it whenever he could. I would never want to play one video game all the time, even if I enjoyed it. I would be unbelievably fucking bored with it. I would really like to play. I like to play a variety of games, is what I'm trying to say. Since no one in school paid attention to him, he started acting weird and got teased by the other kids in school. But when he went to high school, the bullying he received got way worse. The ways he was tormented were just fucking cruel. And he even got bullied by girls in front of their boyfriends that didn't care as well about him. This is one of the few times when I genuinely felt sorry for Elliott. I wanted to pat him on the back and tell him that there are kids in school who act like assholes, but not every school is like that. It also made me realize that he was not entirely wrong when he lamented about how cruel and twisted this world is. If anything, it was his parents' fault for sending him to shitty schools that he had to transfer out of. My parents went out of their way to find a school that didn't have bullying condoned. His parents should have done that. It is possible to find good schools. He had to switch schools twice in high school. That's how bad the situation was. But I will return to his parents later. Here's what Elliott did to get girls. He went out to public places and waited for a girl to talk to him. When he realized that didn't work, all he did was change his appearance and try to get more money instantly. He says in the book that he put all the effort into being attractive, desirable to women, and wondered constantly why he had no luck with them. Well, I have to say that you did not put a lot of effort into finding a girlfriend. He seems to think that women will just come toward you without having to do any work. It doesn't fucking work like that. If you really want to have sex with a girl and want her to be your girlfriend, you have to go up to her and fucking ask her if she would like to go on a date with you. I know you are afraid of talking to girls. Well, challenge yourself. Be able to conquer your fear. This is something I feel that people don't value at fucking all. Well, at least not enough. Elliott probably doesn't value it at fucking all. He at one point said that it was not his fault he couldn't get laid. Actually, it was his fault. You lived a life of so-called pain and suffering, and guess what? Most of it was your fault. You brought this on your fucking self. He also bitches about how women are so cruel and that they are vicious beasts and or animals. That is the most sexist fucking thing I've ever heard. That is more sexist than anything Donald Trump has ever said and done. That is a fucking vile insult. You needed to understand that not every female even the hot blondes are sexually attracted to the buff jock types. I call that a goddamn unfair generalization. But I do see the validity. But do I see the validity in his hatred of the jock types? No! In my personal experience, I have met jocks, I hate using that goddamn word, that are really cool people. There are people into sports that are not obnoxious slobs. They have enough decency to have fun talking to. I know that his experience was different from mine, but even then, he just looks at people as faceless bland stereotypes and sees them as nothing more than that. He's just a fucking scumbag. Dude, even guys who are intelligent like you, can have sex with hot blonde girls. One other problem with Elliott Rodger that I don't see anyone bringing up is that he seems to think that every single goddamn human being on Earth wants the exact same thing. It's actually a lot more complicated than that. I mean, having a hedonistic life of college parties and drinking and fucking and having a family that you can provide for with your money are actually diametrically different from each other. He thinks that having both, including being popular, is a dream that he can accomplish. These are incredibly high standards, probably too high. Not everyone, even in the 2000s, even had families. And he thinks that love and sex are synonymous with each other, but they don't even have to go together. He obviously doesn't know what friends with benefits is. Let alone has even heard of it. But getting back to the whole hedonistic life versus having a family life, that concept. I don't think you really want to have both. I don't really think you really want to have both. You will become another goddamn train wreck, unhappy with yourself if you get both. Pick one or the other. Here. He also sees himself as a failure and thinks his dad looks down on him because he's still a virgin at 20 years old and has no girlfriend. He is also envious of kids that lost their virginity at 14 and 13 years old. Considering what I've seen of his father, he doesn't seem like the kind of person that would ever be proud of his son having sex, especially at such a young age. The age of consent is 18 or 16, depending on which state you live in. So those kids are probably just saying that to fucking brag about it. And even if they did do it, you should not be jealous of them, because they actually broke the law. Whenever he saw a couple together, he would get angry and instantly hate them, even though he had never met them, and then he went home and cried. Again, not everyone is going to be romantically involved. Sure, a few of them kissed, but some of them didn't, at all. They were just sitting together. That's another thing. Elliott cries a lot in this story. He cries so fucking much, it's not funny. I did feel sorry for him in the beginning, but by the end of the story, Elliott becomes really goddamn unlikable. Like, when he tried to get a girl's attention, she just ignored him and drank her drink. But he went up to her and poured her drink on her. Way to get girls, you fucking jerk. The bastard has the nerve to say that she deserved it. No, she fucking didn't, you bastard. But also, his idea, but his idea of a perfect world was the last straw. He actually wanted to abolish sex. Next, saying that it was a barbaric act. That is the most right-wing, puritanical, fucking atrocious idea I have ever heard in my goddamn life. He also wanted to get rid of women so that men will not ever know about them, but keep some alive just for breeding. I would never want a fucking world like that. That only proves my point about him being a far-right cocksucker. He's even racist. Like, he called one of his roommates with Hispanic heritage and a pig face an animal. That is offensive on so many fucking levels. But his comments about a black guy who said he had sex with a white girl seals the deal about him being a racist cunt. I'm glad this guy's dead. One thing I don't get about these school shooters, or these shooters in general, is that why don't they just kill themselves and themselves alone? It would save us a lot of fucking trouble. Why do they have to kill other people too? What? Do they think they are some sort of hero? Elliott died as he lived. A useless fucking human being who has contributed literally nothing to this world. I'm still glad that this fucker is dead. And if there's an afterlife, I hope he's burning in hell. And if there's no afterlife, then at least he will never pollute this world with this bullshit again. Ever again. Because he will be compost and worm food. Which is hilariously ironic, because that's what he metaphorically was this whole time. Fuck Elliott Rodger. Elliott liked to say that he was intelligent and a magnificent guy. However, his book shows that how little he knows about the world. But his parents are not innocent victims in this. His father was hardly there in his life at all. They made him go to Morocco, a vacation spot he clearly didn't like, as their own shitty way to help him. By the time they actually made him see a therapist and a counselor to help him get what he wanted, he was already fucked up beyond repair and delusional about his plan to kill everyone, which he thought was fucking normal. No one in that family is innocent. This book is seriously fucked up and is told by a guy with an astronomical superiority complex, which is why I hate it so much. But I'm glad I listened to the audiobook of it. Why? Because it shows all the thoughts that went through Elliott Rodger's head. Sure, much of it is completely unreliable and fabricated, but it shows me that this is the kind of person that Elliott Rodger is. He is a narcissist. If you really want to know how Elliott Rodger thought, read this book. But I don't feel sorry at all for him. If you actually feel sorry for him, you're probably an incel. But from one sexually frustrated adult to another, I say this. Fuck you, Elliott Rodger. Go fucking blow yourself. Anyway, I am done with this video. Have a nice day. If you like it, then subscribe to my channel. By all means. Support our troops.